Thanks so much for joining me, Ashleigh.
No, thank you for having me.
So just to start off really, so why is it important for manufacturers to almost like step outside of the comfort zone and be effectively braver with their marketing strategies?
I think at the moment, so many manufacturers are doing what they know, and there's this scary digital side that people aren't necessarily aware of. But to be honest, I think when you think of it in your own life, the bare minimum digital that you need to be is a lot higher than it used to be before. So if you think in your own life, how much you Google, how much you use your phone, search engines, social media, if we're not trialing all these new ways of navigating, then you're not even hitting the bare minimum of what we as individuals expect. And I think if you're not willing to at least try, then you're going to be left behind pretty quickly.
Yeah, sure. And I think that one thing that I know that there will be some companies anyway, they'll point to like budget and we can't try something new because we're budget is scarce as it is. But so with budget and perhaps bandwidth as well, posing almost like a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Excuse me. How can manufacturers overcome these obstacles and almost like execute more effective marketing strategies? I guess work smarter and make the most of what they have.
I think look at where your budget is spent. I think if you've traditionally spent it in the same places year on year and you're not seeing the growth that you expect, always have the wiggle room and have an experimental budget. So set aside a particular section of the budget that is just for trialing new things, whether that be, Google display ads or even more traditional things, an event you haven't been to before, or podcasts, virtual reality, AI, there's all these things that you can try. And if you have that set budget assigned to it, then you kind of have a bit of leeway to do it. But definitely assess where you're spending your money first and see if you're actually gaining anything from that year on year.
Yeah, sure. One place where a lot of manufacturers are investing a lot of time traditionally and a lot of money. Trade shows and email marketing. So for almost like the manufacturers in the market who may be a little bit almost like reluctant to kind of like branch too far and veer away from what they know, those two forms of like marketing are massive. But how can manufacturers almost like optimize and innovate within those like specific channels if they don't want to move too far away into something else?
I think it's obviously you can turn up to these events and exhibitions and trade shows and everything, but it's the marketing before and the marketing after that I think is where you're going to make the most of it. Is A, letting people know that you're going to be there, the right people, the local people, and then B, remarketing them after you've been there. Don't let them forget their interaction with you. And at the end of the day, it is a lot of B2B, but ultimately you've got to win over a consumer, whether that's a purchaser, an engineer, manager. So I definitely spend time thinking how you can target those individuals whilst you're there, figure out who is going, what is the target audience of that event. And the same with your emails. Ultimately, you're going into the inbox of a consumer, even though it's B2B, and none of us want clutter in our emails. So if you're kind of spray and praying emails, it's never going to work. And you really need to look at getting really specific with your lists and who you're sending it to. Look at your engagement. Is it 5% of people engaging with this email? Probably the rest don't want that email. And kind of make the most out of the people that are opening your emails and target them specifically. And ultimately, just remember that they are a person like you. And if they don't want the content that you're sending, chances are you wouldn't want it either. So
Yeah, sure. And this I wasn't going to throw a curveball, but I'm going to throw a slight curveball in.
Yeah.
So just looking at the almost like the in-person events and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So how can manufacturers almost like what methods can manufacturers use to retarget those people that they perhaps meet at a trade show or something?
Yeah, I think it depends what you're using. I know a lot of trade shows will provide you with the data of the people attending. Sometimes you use your own lead capture to do so. But I think always when you're capturing a lead or taking someone's details, you always have the option to say, would you mind if we could send you some emails? It's the easiest way, I think, to get people to do it because you have to click it and they don't. Obviously, when you fill out a form, you think, oh no, I don't want to receive that. But if you just quickly asked, you might go, yeah, that's fine. And I think the acceptance rate is a bit better. And personalize it as much as you can. Again, it depends what you use. You know, you've got HubSpot, MailChimp, there's loads of different emailing providers. But if you can personalize to the person they spoke to and have that sent from the person that, you know, everyone that person logged gets an email from them, then there's that personal aspect, that personal touch, and it doesn't feel like a broad email that's gone to everyone. It does feel like more one-to-one and personal.
I'm going to say go with HubSpot, but yeah, I'm a little bit biased. So how can manufacturers almost like strike a balance between almost like sticking with these tried and tested marketing methods and almost like going out there and being a little bit more innovative? Because I guess it's one thing saying, oh, you know, you've got to try these, you know, crazy, weird and wonderful methods.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can be maybe a little bit intimidating to kind of expect people to leave behind, you know, as I say, like the tried and tested route and go down like something completely different. So how can manufacturers, as I say, like strike that balance between the two?
I think it's really easy to say, oh, completely go digital, forget everything you've done. But ultimately, you have to have a balance between the two. You have to have the traditional marketing. There's so much of your marketing that you'll never see the results from. You'll pay for billboards and you'll never know if that person that saw it that day visited your website. And the digital side does provide you a bit more kind of data to go against. So I would say you've got that reliable side. So it might be more daunting to say, okay, I'm going to invest in optimizing my website. I don't even really know what that is, but I'm going to go and try that. Or we're going to buy VRs and see how that goes at an exhibition. You can track how many VR sessions you started. You can track how well your website's performing, and you can see how the investment was worth it. Whereas with traditional marketing, it's a little bit more difficult to see how many people read the magazine and came to you because of that. So I think having that data behind it it makes it a bit more reliable. And if you don't see the data, you can stop and try something else. So definitely make sure you can track what you're doing. Yeah,
100%. And kind of flipping the tables back on yourself. So can you share almost like some like success stories really of when you guys at igus have really kind of stepped outside the comfort zone, but you've really seen great results?
Yeah, I think, well, when I started at igus, which was about 5 years ago, it was a very, very small team. It was kind of a lot of traditional exhibitions, telemarketing, things like that. And igus did a massive investment into the digital side, hiring. I started doing search engine optimization, and we kind of, there was no clue where it was going to go. And I think the good thing about igus is no idea is a bad idea, and follow that through completely. We had recently VRs came into our life, and I was a bit like, are we sure we want to do this? I'm not sure if this will work. But again, no idea is a bad idea at igus, and we try it and see what happens. And now we have a whole VR setup and studio where you can come and use all of our virtual experience. So we have the iGiverse, which is basically igus within the metaverse. And we've developed rooms where customers can import crane systems and trial our products within that. And the fact that even I was saying, as digital marketing, I was saying, oh, I don't think VRs are going to work. Yeah. We tried it, and now we have these results and this entire iGiverse that customers can use. And so far we've had so many people come and visit us and have a go, and having more and more customers show an interest in the development side of it. And yeah, if I hadn't have tried it, which I was a bit, not sure about, it wouldn't have taken off. So
yeah, I guess it's one of those really, isn't it, where like if something, I'm working in content, it's like they say, it's something that I come across all the time. If you don't try something, like, you're never going to know. You're never going to evolve and improve unless you just kind of change a little bit. And try, dip your toe in a little bit and try these new methods, whether or not it's with your marketing, whatever it may be. Just experiment. The worst that happens is it goes slightly wrong. Just kind of evaluate.
Just forget.
just forget about it. But just try and like learn from it. What are the key takeaways from it, and then kind of like adapt.
And it is hard, when you first start, you have so many ideas. And when I first started at igus, I wanted to try everything. And then kind of 5 years later, you get a bit comfortable with the things you know. And again, I was a bit optimistic with wasn't optimistic with the VRs. And it is difficult to then get out your comfort zone in your day-to-day job and go, okay, we're going to try this brand new way of doing things. But yeah, like you said, you just have to keep at least exploring it, even if you don't try, explore the idea.
Yeah. And is it as scary as it sounds, and almost like cutthroat as it might sound? Like, if you don't try it, like, there's so many companies out there who are going to be, accelerating
so quick to taking
so quick,
it.
And then, all of a sudden you're playing catch up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I should have done that.
Yeah.
So way back when, I should have tried it. Because as I say, like, the worst that happens is you try a method, it doesn't work for you, but then you can go back to the drawing board and you can try something else.
And if you're not quick enough, all of a sudden it's not innovative.
Yeah.
Because everyone's doing. I mean, people are getting VRs now for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, so it's already so fast paced. Like, they're affordable. They're out at market, and if you don't jump on it and become experts in it quickly, then you're not part of that innovation and that next step.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that it's really important to kind of not lose track of, though, is like not just bringing in. Let me rephrase that. So it's important not to just bring something in for the sake of it. It needs to kind of have some sort of like substance behind it, and make sure that it almost like aligns with what your target market actually want, and is it suitable for them? So how can manufacturers almost like align their marketing strategies with the evolving expectations amongst their audience?
I think a lot of the time, whatever company you're with, you tend to know your target audience. And if you don't, you really need to get to know them. But you need to ask yourself, if I had a customer sat in front of me, could I explain to them why we're doing this? And if you couldn't do that quite quickly and easily, it probably isn't going to work, or you need to educate and figure it out a bit more. And I think that's what we found, like with the iGiverse. At first, I didn't know what I would say to a customer, why we're doing this. And then I learned about it, I had training, and I understood it a bit more. And then I could go on for hours about why we're doing this and why you should do it with us and everything like that. And I think if you can't answer that question as if they were in front of you, then it's probably not for you. But equally, explore it with the team and speak to sales, speak to the receptionist, people that speak to your customers every day. Ask them, is this problem coming up? Do you think this could solve that problem? I think sometimes you get stuck in your marketing team and you all think it's a great idea, but you need to ask sometimes the people that speak to customers, would they actually use it? Would they? What do you think they would think, and things like that?
Yeah. There's almost like internal and external like feedback loops. So
yeah,
100%. So in terms of, there's so many different marketing channels, and they're constantly being introduced. But are there any almost like untapped sources or materials that you think manufacturers really need to pay attention to, or perhaps are not paying attention to, that they could really use to almost like diversify outreach and engage their audience more effectively?
I think it's spoken about a lot, but whether people put the time and effort into it, I'm not sure. Yeah. I think search engine optimization is a big word. No one's really sure what it means sometimes. And all you think of is, I just want to rank first for this and that. And I think when you think about it, I mentioned it before, like the bare minimum digital expectations of people now is so much higher than it was before. And you want to ask Google a question and you want to get the right answer, a suitable website that's optimized for your phone, your iPad, Edge, Chrome, all of the different Mac, Safari. You've just got browsers, devices, sizes. Yeah. And the bare minimum is just to expect that your website will be there and it will work. And I think that alone is a lot of work within a department to get it up to scratch and make sure it's working. It might work on a computer, but not on the phone. You might not be coming up for the, terms that you should be. And not just terms, but solutions. How often do you just search a term? You ask Google a question, you ask Bing a question, and is your website coming up with the answers, with the solutions for it? And if it's not, you need to massively start working on that. And yeah, I think I don't know if it's untapped, but it's definitely where efforts should be going. Because like I said, the bare minimum we expect nowadays is to get the right answer and have the best website with that answer.
Yeah. I think it's really important as well when you said, everyone just wants to rank number one on Google. But one thing I will say is that, there's been plenty of people that I've worked with who said, I want to rank first on Google, like that. That's what we're going to go for. But at the same time, it's really important to almost like have realistic expectations. Like if you're, competing against, I don't know, HubSpot, are you really going to rank number one on HubSpot? But so you need to kind of contextualize and think about, right, what does success look in your, can you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, 100%.
Have the right expectations.
And that comes with knowledge and using the tools correctly. And is there a niche where you can fit in? Is there a particular search term that maybe HubSpot isn't using? And can you kind of use that and optimize that? And it's not a quick fix. Once you start optimizing your website, it takes months. And I think people think they've found a term and they give it to marketing and say, can we rank first here tomorrow, please? And it's a lot of hard work to get there.
I'm so glad you said that. So many people, seriously, right, let's push this content out, and then like you'll get an email or whatever. It's like, right, how's it going? It's like, well, it's not that easy.
We need a bit of time.
It's a slow burn, but it can be really effective.
Yeah, definitely.
And what role does brand storytelling play in the manufacturing industry? Not just manufacturing, I guess, but do you think companies spend enough time connecting with their audience, almost like emotionally, really? Because it is almost like quite easy to forget. I guess that, going back to what we were saying before, you are speaking to a human. It needs to be really human centric. So, as I say, what role does brand storytelling play? And do you think manufacturers are telling, compelling stories?
Yeah, I think brand is one of the most important things really within marketing. And even though within manufacturing, like I said, a lot of it is B2B, ultimately you're speaking to a purchaser or an engineer or a manager, director. They are a person. And if they don't believe in your brand, as long as that consumer's at that business, you're not going to be able to engage. And I think the storytelling of your company and making it an experience for that individual, not just business to business, is extremely important, because once you can sell your brand to a person, they almost become your own little promoter. And I always think if you have a good experience at a restaurant or a particular shop, you will then recommend that restaurant to everyone. And you will say, they were so nice, I loved it, And I think the ultimate goal in marketing is to create mini advocates everywhere that you've sold on your brand, and that no matter what happens, they're taken with you, and wherever they go, they're going to take that kind of advocacy with them. So
referral marketing is just massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so big. Sorry, I used to work freelance, and it just made things so much easier when you've got someone saying, "Oh he's decent," or they're decent, and it does just the momentum that comes with it is massive. And that's kind of like lends itself very nicely, to be honest, into my next question. So how can manufacturers almost like collaborate with influential figures, or as we say, like brand advocates, really? So influential figures to kind of improve that brand awareness. So is there a way that you think that the initial groundwork can be laid, when working with like an influencer or an advocate or what?
I think a lot of people, when they think of influencer, they think of Instagram, someone holding a smoothie or something, and get 10% off here. And I think within manufacturing, it's a lot more about kind of, as you said, selling your brand to influential people and having that relationship with influential, whether paid or unpaid. It's doing each other favors within the business to help grow each other, because ultimately someone that's influential or an influencer, they want to continue to grow. So if brands are using them, inviting them to events, they're going to think well of that brand. So I think do your research, think of people that your engineers, your directors, managers, CEOs, who do they follow? Who do they find influential? Chances are a lot of other people will as well. And start interacting with them, reach out, personally invite them to events. if you have a CEO or a managing director that could say, hello, I'd love you to come and personally invite them, and build that relationship first, see where it takes you after that. But once you have them attending your events, they need to publish content. They need to say, I was here, I was there, and detach influencer from the Instagram, TikTok.
Forget the stereotype.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. And treat it more as a business relationship with an influential person, and that you can both get stuff out of. And I start small, just talk to them, invite them, figure out who they are to you, and then just let that relationship grow.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like, all boils down to like just being proactive as well, because I think sometimes, not all businesses obviously, but I think that some businesses can kind of just wait. They just wait for people to come to them. And then before you know it, like nothing's happening. And then going back to what we were saying before, someone else has stepped in, they've exploited it, and you playing catch up. Always just try and get one step ahead of the curve, I guess.
And I think with influencers or influential people, they're just people at the end of the day, and they will take the compliment of being invited and messaged, and you just have to win them over just like you would the purchaser or the engineer. It's just in a different way. And I think, the first step, just get to know them, invite them, build that relationship, and then take it from there.
Yeah. And the worst thing is saying no. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then just move on to the next one.
Move on to the next one. There's plenty of out there.
Yeah.
So going back again to almost like it was like building a culture of innovation, effectively. I know that earlier on we were saying that for some manufacturers or manufacturing companies, it can be a little bit alien, perhaps.
Yeah.
And you do need to also gain buy-in from key stakeholders when you're, when you're trying to ring wholesale changes or even like small changes sometimes. So how can manufacturers get that buy-in when they're trying to build that innovative culture, and almost get sign off to take more risks within their organisation?
I think it's really hard when, especially if you have the kind of culture where they never really take risks, to encourage someone to do it. If you're starting within marketing, you can often get the opinion that marketing is marketing and they just want to spend budget and things like that. But build the relationship internally. How does this benefit sales? Get sales on board. How does this benefit operations? Does it make something easier for them? How does this benefit logistically, directors? And if you can figure out how there's small wins from every aspect of the business, then you're more likely to kind of get that buy-in. You can have more support within a meeting maybe, and always show a trajectory of, if we do this, I think it could go there. And if we could get the buy-in from everyone, this is where it could go. It's difficult if you have, leads that aren't necessarily risk takers. But the more departments and areas within the business you can get to buy into your idea and how it could benefit them, the more likely you are to do it. And I know that there's the constant marketing sales battle of can they work together? And ultimately we're all doing the same thing. Reception's answering the phone to obtain a lead, a sale. Sales is getting it. Marketing is getting the lead so sales can get the sale. It's everyone's working together. So find small wins for everyone, and then I think you're more likely to get a big win after.
And I guess without sounding like too much, I guess I got a really crude way of putting it. How does it contribute to the bottom line, really? Why would this bring? Why does it bring money into the business? Because
what are your company's overall big goals and objectives? And if you can't link it to at least one of them, it's probably not going to work.
100%. Actually, it's been an absolute pleasure. The time's gone super quick.
Yeah, it has.
I've got one question for you that I ask everyone. What's your golden marketing tip that you want the listener or the viewer to take from this episode?
I think we've kind of mentioned it quite a few times, but for me, if an idea comes up, just ask yourself, have we tried it yet? And if we did, how long ago did we do it? And if you haven't, just explore it, at least let someone dig deep into it, and try as many things, set some experimental budget. And at the end of the day, everyone's doing everything so quickly, and you've got AI that's just absolutely soaring. And if you don't start trying it and meddling with it, you're just going to get left behind. And like I've already mentioned, just remember the digital bare minimum is a lot higher than it was before, and just try everything.
Just try it. Why not?
Why not? Just try it.
Brilliant. Ashleigh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.